All right, everybody, we are live. Can everybody see me and hear me? How are we doing today? We're kicking off here with 8 hours. I can't say commercial free, but very close to commercial free. So, in that way, I am not unlike Red Zone channel, I guess. So, the only thing that's really changed, DeMarcus Lawrence's contract is for a lot less than initially reported. It's about 9.5 million less than the initial report, and that 9.5 million is in incentives that we don't know what they are yet. But I do feel relatively comfortable saying that they are incentives that will be considered unlikely to be reached. Because he barely played last year. So the most recent thing that happened was Isaac Yiadom signed with the Saints. I'm not going to put it on the board because it happened before 9. I'm not going to try to backfill things that happened, hours ago or even minutes ago. We're going to go ahead and start now at this point and fill the list as moves happen. But that is the most recent thing that's happened. Isaac Yiadom signed with the Saints. How's everybody doing today? I know some things happened like very late last night and some things happened early this morning, but my list hasn't really changed actually. If you go to the remaining list right here on screen, I don't think any of these names have really fallen off. So there's still plenty of stuff we can do that I think makes us better. So, hey, we are one move away from completely changing everyone's perception. I did see that David Andrews got released. I know that there's some degree of interest there, and I can understand why. But I will say this: picking through other teams' uh, landfills is something that I'm really trying to avoid, if at all possible. There is probably a reason he got released, and that reason does not involve that player being particularly good. How do you feel about D-Law? I do like it. There is some risk here, but I'm good with the D-Law signing. I think he's going to be very similar to what Clowney was for McDonald his last year in Baltimore. I think he's that same kind of player and brings that same kind of impact. There is risk here because he is so old, but I don't think that risk is crippling. And it's also mitigated by the fact that this contract is not bad. It's, according to most people, basically a 2-year, $18 million deal, which means if that is true, you're looking at like $9 million a year, which is less than what Draymond Jones got in Tennessee. Just, if you want to draw a one-to-one comparison there, I think it's very clear that we came out much better here. I'm good with it. But what is this for? Are we really aiming to have a top 5 defense but a bottom 5 offense? That's what it feels like right now. And That is not breaking the cycle of mediocrity. That's really what I can say about it right now. Titans love our old players. There are a few teams out there that are just kind of acting as like a vacuum. What are the chances we'd get both Cup and Devin? I'd say probably pretty low. But I think we're in the part. I think we're in the conversation part. I saw Hawks fans say John deserves credit for thinking outside the box this offseason. How is he thinking outside the box? I don't even understand that argument on a basic level. How is he thinking outside the box here? Thinking outside the box would have been like trading for Joe Burrow or just kind of not doing anything after trading DK and Geno. Like, how is this thinking outside the box? I don't see that. I think this is as close to the box as you could be. Now remember, guys, this stream is only going to run about 3 hours, and then I'm streaming with the Hawk's Nest over on his channel. Which, by the way, actually, I need to set up that stream real quick, actually. I totally forgot. I meant to do this last night. Give me a couple of seconds here. Dark Swampert1234, thank you for the sub. Welcome to the channel. There we go. Audio's hooked up now. Yeah, I heard about the Aaron Rodgers stuff. Would our current roster already be a top 10 defense if we did not add any more defensive players? I think so. I would say probably yes. If I had to guess, I would say yes. But I think there's also upside beyond that. I think it could be an elite defense. I think it could be top 5 if you do things the right way here. Would you be against signing Marcus Williams? He's kind of... He's kind of in his prime. I think he's going to want to start somewhere. I could be wrong. I feel like Marcus Williams feels like he can still be a good player. I don't think he's going to want to go be a third safety in Seattle, personally. Do you think center David Andrews is someone Seahawks should target after his release? Not really. If he was good, why is he getting released, you know? Hey, Jake, how you doing? Oh, KJ Osborne. I remember KJ Osborne. A little bit. Let's get that on the board. First free agency move of the day, people. We do not have money on that yet, but KJ Osborne goes on the board. Thank you, Brick. Welcome to the stream. Well, Big Chris, why does that matter? Why does it matter why we have all this cap space? The only thing that matters is how you decide to utilize it. Because we're using some of it, and we're using it in ways that are clearly intended to try to scrape together as many wins as possible now. And what I'm saying is either you go for it or you don't go for it. And right now it kind of feels like we're going for it defensively, but not really offensively. Okay, there's the list of remaining free agents. It's on screen right now. I'll go ahead and leave this up because this is the stuff that is actually interesting right now. We only have one signing so far in the last 13 minutes, so. Wait a minute, Scotty Miller? No, Scotty Miller, that happened a while ago. Okay. Hey, Silver. Keenan Allen sign anywhere? No, Keenan Allen is still out there. I don't think Keenan Allen has very much left. He looked very slow to me last season. I don't know. It just looks like he's so slow to me. He looks, and I don't mean to be disrespectful, although it's really hard to not be disrespectful when you say something like this. He looks kind of fat to me. Jenkins isn't 35. Jenkins is like 26 or 27. I really don't understand why, it's kind of funny. Maybe it's just because people that disagree with you are always going to be louder than people that agree with you. But I am seeing people way more angry about signing DeMarcus Lawrence than Sam Darnold when I've come down on the opposite side of that. I don't know what there is to be upset about with the DeMarcus Lawrence contract. There's some risk, but it's really not that bad. And Darnold, Darnold's going to cost 3 times what Lawrence cost. I mean, there's always going to be risk, guys. If there was no risk, he'd get way more money. If there was no risk or irrelevant amounts of risk, then he would get way more money. So it's not like we gave him 20 million a year, like he's a player with no risk. Oh, we got Saints signing veteran center Will Clapp. And yes, that is his name, Will Clapp. He's not really starter material in my book, or at least not good starter material, so this is not really somebody that I had on my list. Josh Ross. The Seahawks did not tender him and instead are signing him to a 1-year contract. So, whatever it is, it's probably pretty similar to that. All right. We actually have a move. Kind of. We don't know the money yet, but it's probably the minimum. It's or very close to the minimum, which for him would be very cheap. So Josh Ross is a player who was at Michigan, I think, when McDonald was there, and then he was at Baltimore when McDonald was there. So this is a Mike McDonald guy. All right, we got ourselves a move, people. It's not the biggest or baddest move, but he's a McDonald guy, I think. All right, let's go ahead and cut a video. Let's go ahead and cut the video. Give me a couple minutes here. This won't take long. All right, everybody, we are just getting started here today on day 4 of NFL free agency. Started the stream just about not even 20 minutes ago, and we actually already have a move by the Seattle Seahawks. We already have a signing. It's not a big signing. It's not a super impactful signing, and it's probably going to creep under the radar here. But moves like this need to be made from time to time, and I'm relatively on board with this one for what it is. So the Seahawks have signed linebacker Josh Ross to a 1-year contract. We don't know the money yet, but it's Josh Ross, so it's almost certainly going to be the minimum or very close to the minimum for a player of his level of experience in the NFL. Now, if you haven't really heard very much about Josh Ross in his career, I don't blame you. He hasn't done very much. He was in Baltimore for 2.5 seasons and didn't really do all that much other than just be a backup and special teamer. And then he spent a good chunk of the last season, 2024, on the Seahawks roster without doing that much. So there isn't a lot to hang on to in terms of on-field performance with Josh Ross. But the thing to understand with him is that he is a Mike McDonald guy. Josh Ross played college football at Michigan, and McDonald was the defensive coordinator there for 1 year, so they crossed paths in Michigan. And then Ross went to Baltimore as an undrafted rookie free agent in 2022, and McDonald obviously worked with him there. Even though he didn't really play very much, even though he didn't really get on the field that much defensively, this is clearly a guy that McDonald likes because he has worked with him on 3 separate occasions in the last 4 to 5 years. So, on that level, there's clearly something going on here that our coach, who I think like 90 to 95% of this fan base is on board with, likes. And while we don't know the money yet, it is probably very close to like 1 year, 1 million, 1.1 million, something like that. So it's a reasonable cost for a player that he clearly likes to have around and clearly sees something of good value with. So seems fine to me. This is not something that's really going to move the needle. I will say we do need to try to find our next special teams ace. And while I don't think Josh Ross is that, we do need to at least fill out the special teams unit with guys who can do that. So I am pretty good with this. It doesn't really change much of anything, but it is certainly something to start the day with. All right. We got another few hours of streaming to do, and then we're doing the Hawks Nest stream, and then we are hopping back on the free agency stream until the end of, well, the end of the period where I can actually continue to stream. So remember that. See you guys soon. Go Hawks. Josh Ross, linebacker, signs a 1-year deal with the Seahawks. MVS is not better than Cup. There's no way. Cup is still a pretty decent player. He just has a hard time staying healthy. Yeah, I saw the Scotty Miller thing. That was earlier today, though, right? That was like early this morning. Okay. All right, let's get this sucker uploaded. Give me a few minutes, guys. I'm almost done. This is good. Kyle Juszczyk meeting with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Andrew Wiley stays in Washington. Okay, yeah. Not much going on right now, people. Everything is quiet and peaceful. Misfit, the contract was a lot less than we thought. There are incentives in the contract, but I don't believe they're assumed to have been hit or assumed to well hit. So therefore, I decided to go ahead and list it as such. I think it makes more sense to list it this way. Whatever the incentives are, I wouldn't say he's overly likely to hit them because we're going to have a pretty expansive rotation at edge, in my estimation. Yeah, I don't think McMillan's going to be there at 18, guys. That would surprise me. Who would you have preferred, Lawrence or Clowney? Well, Clowney's not available. Clowney's still under contract with Carolina. So, I mean, I guess I'd rather have Clowney, but Clowney is not even on the table, so I'm not really going to get wrapped up in that. Elijah Moore or Amari? I guess I'll go Elijah Moore because he's young. Amari Cooper, certainly more proven, though. Was that really breaking news? Not really, but you got to do what you got to do, Tumbo. It might be the only thing we do today. I'd be fine with Cup. I would also be fine with no Cup. I'd be fine with a few different things. Silver A's, I don't think people are mad about the Ross signing. I think they're mad about the fact that it might be the only thing we do today. And that's frustrating right now because there's stuff this team needs to do. But there's nothing wrong with the Josh Ross signing, and I think people are smart enough to know that. All right, guys, we've been going for about half an hour here, so I just want to say, now that we've really gotten the ball rolling, thank you everybody for coming out and spending your day with me. We're going to be streaming until noon, when I'm going to get out of here for a couple of hours to stream with the Hawk's Nest, and then I'm going to come back and stream for a couple hours back here until basically 5 o'clock, and we're going to be going through anything and everything that happens in free agency pretty much. So I'm going to talk to chat as much as I can. Understand that it may not be so easy for me to interact with everybody because if something happens, there's going to be a lot of people in here. So there are some things you can do to help me out here. You can like the stream. We got 40 likes right now, and there are almost 400 people here. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. I make 4 to 6 videos a day on the Seahawks most days. And if you can go above and beyond that, this is one of the 2 times during the year where I do make a little bit of an extra request for donations in various ways, because I am doing these very long streams, and these very long streams do not make ad revenue the way that pre-recorded videos do. So there's many things you can do to support in that area. You can click the $ in chat to do a super chat. You can tip via the link near the top of the stream description. You can purchase a membership by doing the join button, or gift memberships as well to other members of the chat. You can pledge to the Patreon. Those are the best ways to support. Thank you, everybody, and we're going to have a fun day here. Yes, I did the Bleacher Report stream yesterday, Herman. It should be pretty much every Wednesday with rare exception. The Bleacher Report stream will almost always be a Wednesday, with rare exception. I did see David Andrews get released, yeah. mjseahawk, thank you for the $10 super chat. Good morning. At this point, I think we need to spend at least 2 of the top 100 picks on O-line. Anything less would be a failure on JS. I think it's even more prohibitive than that. I think at this point we are almost pigeonholed into spending our top picks on offensive line, and that is bad. You don't want to go into a draft feeling like you absolutely have to spend your picks on particular positions. And that's where we are right now. We are in a position where we're going to have to force it with the offensive line, or probably just have a really bad offensive line again. So that's bad. That's not how good teams operate. So that's kind of where I am right now. I understand that we can do that in the draft, but number one, that's a bad situation to be in going into the draft, because it means you have to abandon BPA, and you're also going to be expecting rookies to play at a high level for you, and that's not reasonable. The goal of free agency, in many ways, is to at least try to set yourself up so you feel liberated to do whatever it is you need to do in the draft based on best player available, not chasing the exact positional needs that you have. And every team's always going to have some positional needs, but you want to give yourself some freedom for movement. Like, what if we're sitting there at 18 and Armand Membo has fallen to us, or Michael Williams has fallen to us, or Tetraoet McMillan has fallen to us by some miracle? I'd really like to take those guys. But what if we can't because, oh no, we need a guard. We need an interior offensive lineman. We have to. That's the issue here, man. That's what I can't really... That's what I really can't get on. Drafting for need is why we drafted LJ Collier. You can move Membo inside? Well, maybe. I'm not convinced that he's going to be down with that. He probably thinks of himself as a tackle, very reasonably so. But Membo's not even very realistic. I mean, I'm talking more like Michael Williams is a little more realistic than that. All right, guys. I will be back in a few minutes here. So everyone just chill out. I will be back shortly, and we'll see what happens. Thank you, everybody, for coming out. But I got to take a quick break here. Nothing's really going on. See you guys soon. All right, guys, we're back. Wow, I was gone for a little while. All right, guys, so I don't think anything happened. Yeah, I don't see nothing. So, yeah, we are peaceful right now, people. I wonder why we would not tender him as an exclusive rights free agent, but we would just sign him to a 1 year deal that is probably about the same amount of money. I wonder if there's any kind of a difference that we don't know about. Mm-hmm. If you guys want to know about Josh Ross, I posted a video about him a minute ago where I quickly went over him. Just go watch that video. It's like 3 minutes long. It's like, yeah, not even 3.5 minutes. I have no idea if we're still in talks with Tevin Jenkins or not. We don't get to hear all the details of that kind of stuff. You use Grok? Yeah, I use Grok. Grok is great. I like Grok a lot. Mm. Have you seen the Mike Dugar project? What part of this did he predict, Silver Ace? What are you talking about specifically? The Darnold thing, or well, Silver Ace, that does not make me feel any better about any of this. I think that if John Schneider doesn't think Gino is good, then he doesn't have a very good understanding of evaluating talent. So that I cannot say that makes me feel very good at all. I can't believe Collier got more than the veteran minimum. That's really confusing to me. Yeah, the thing with Verse is already old, kind of older. Verse was 24 last year, Murphy was 21. Murphy is going to get a lot better than he was last year. Verse is much closer to his ceiling. Hey Chuck. Yeah, I think I remember that. I think I know what you're talking about, Chuck Richards. What's up? Verse might already be pretty close to his ceiling. Murphy is nowhere close to his ceiling. He was 21 last year. Oh, snap. They're making an anime for All You Need Is Kill. Oh, that's actually really exciting. How do you know, though, in regards to Verse? Well, of course I don't know, but using the knowledge that I have, it's not really hard to put that together. A player who comes into the league at 21 years old is going to have much higher potential to get better than a player who enters the league when he's 24 years old. That's just common sense. Are we sure Gino is better than Darnold just because Darnold had one good year as an argument? It actually is an argument. I don't know why you think it isn't an argument. It's actually a very good argument. How is that not an argument? I think that is the dictionary definition of an argument. And it's a pretty good one, too, while we're at it. Favorite Seahawk of all time? It's probably Wagner, honestly. Especially with the way a lot of the Seahawks of that era left the team. I really appreciate the fact that Wagner just did his thing and then left when it was time to leave. He just kept quiet. He did his thing. He kept going. It wasn't like Sherman, who was super butthurt. It wasn't like Wilson, who forced his way out. It wasn't, it's different, right? Wagner just did his business and then left. I'm pretty sure the press conference is going to focus on Darnold, guys. We're probably introducing Sam Darnold as our new quarterback. Earl was my favorite Seahawk of all time, and then he started doing stuff that I think we're at the point now where you don't want to say that Earl Thomas was your favorite Seahawk of all time. You end up on a list. Did we trade for Drake London? I don't know why Atlanta would do that. That doesn't make much sense to me at all. Nothing has happened in the last half hour, guys. Things are super quiet. Okay, so this is kind of interesting. Brady Henderson says on a negotiated contract, the team can include a split salary, which is a reduced amount a player makes if he lands on injured reserve. If you ERFA tender him, you cannot do a split salary. So that's interesting. Nathan, I think that's probably going to be about what it is. I just don't know if I want to do it because I question the fit, but I'm not closed off to it. I'm just aware of how it can very easily and clearly go wrong. Trey Flowers was good for the first 2 years, man, and then things just got away from him. Those first 2 years were good, man, and I don't think everything that happened after that was his fault. Yeah, Scotty Miller, that was I think a couple of hours ago. I saw Mason Rudolph get signed, yeah, but he's going to be a backup. They're not signing him to start. All right, guys, we're at 98 likes. We need 2 more likes to get to 100. Wow, today is super sleepy. How do you feel about McMillan? I think he's fantastic. But I think it's very unlikely we have a chance to draft him because I think he's going to be gone by then because he is really, really good. Josh is an inside linebacker. I don't view him as an edge, really. Mm-hmm. You ever wonder if the Seattle Seahawks are like the football team version of the producers? They've realized they can make more money with a mediocre team than a good team. You ever wonder about that? A writer on David Andrews? I'm a little bit suspicious of a player that the Patriots released. Like he's not good enough for the Patriots. You know what I learned yesterday? The musical version of the producers set a record for most Tony Awards. Like it won more Tony Awards than The Lion King, won more Tony Awards than Les Mis, won more Tony Awards than what's another? I don't know. What's another big time all time Broadway musical? Cats. Like that's so weird to me. Like the producers really did not need to be a musical, and it becomes like the biggest smash hit in Broadway history in terms of Tony Awards. Something about that feels very odd to me. Anyway, yeah, Donovan Jackson's great, AA. I'm definitely going to talk about him a lot this the rest of this offseason. Are you somewhat happy the Seahawks dripped off the band-aid with a dead cap? We already had 30 before Gino and DK, now 67. I'd like it more if the team would just, chill out and not spend money. I think that the effect of just taking all the dead money now is reduced by the fact that I don't really understand what they're doing post dead cap hits. I've kind of always been in favor of trading Reek Woolen, I'll admit, but I'm fine either way. No Seahawks, but Mariners are like that. Yeah, the Mariners are more like that, but I'm telling you, there is a real argument to be made. The Seahawks are really not that different from the Mariners at this point. A little bit different. Jonathan, thank you for the $2. Is wide receiver a real play at 18, or is that too high? Um, it might be. I'm not against it, but it depends on who. I'm gonna have to do a little bit more digging. I'm not 100% sure how to feel about that. Does dead money take away money from our cap? Yes, that is precisely how it works. They give awards to anybody these days. Well, you wouldn't think the Tony Awards would be like that, right? Unless we release Fant, we don't really need another tight end. Now, don't get me wrong. If Tyler Warren is there at 18, I definitely want to pick him, but that's not realistic. David Wiley, welcome to the channel. Thank you for the sub. I think Tyler Warren is good enough to draft anyway, but he's not going to be there, so I'm not too tripping on it. I'm not. Jonathan, thank you for the $2. Thoughts on Manwari for Seattle's first pick? I'm a little bit skeptical of that one because he wasn't as good in college as he was at the combine, but he is very fun. Loveland at 18, I don't know. I don't know if I view Loveland at 18 as something that makes sense. I'm not so sure about that. J-Maz, thank you for the $1.99. Negotiate pick 10 with Bears and draft Campbell. It's going to be harder to justify that after you just gave a long-term deal to Ernest Jones. And Schneider doesn't trade up in the first round. That's not the Green Bay way. Do you care for the rumors of Cup coming to Seattle? I'm open to it. I'm open to it. Oh, Will Campbell. Duh. Okay. That makes more sense. But I don't think we're trading up with in the first round. That's not the John Schneider way. Mhm. Nathan, we heard you the first 10 times. It's okay. The trade's been confirmed for days. They're not gonna the Seahawks are not gonna pull a psych at the last second here. That's not something that happens in the NFL unless you're Josh McDaniels. Oh boy. Okay. My NFL feed has not had an update in 52 minutes. Wow. Not much to say today, guys. Is Roomba in a bad mood today? That I don't know. D-Law's been a big sack guy. It's just been a long time since he's been that. And I don't really think about him in that way. I'm not worried about that. I'm not really worried about that. He doesn't need to be a big sack guy to justify his presence and his salary. Are you interested in Andre James? I'm not sure. I don't know much about Andre James. Again, I don't want other teams sloppy seconds that much though. That's my issue. It's like if they're good, then why do their current teams just toss them? I wouldn't mind Rasul Douglas. I wonder how much he costs. I think he's getting kind of old. Yeah, guys, if you guys want to know more about Josh Ross, I made a video like an hour ago. Just go watch that video. It's like 3.5 minutes long, not even. And I basically run down everything there is to know about Josh Ross because there isn't that much. Yeah, I'm going to be honest. If we go the next hour 45 and not really anything happens, and then I stream with the Hawk's Nest for a couple hours and nothing happens, I might not even do the afternoon stream. I might just say, you know what, I'm gonna cut this stream short because nothing's happening, and then I'll come back tomorrow and we'll see if anything picks up. Tyler Conklin would be okay, but it wouldn't make a lot of sense to me because we already have our tight ends. The truth is, I know it. You didn't say that Russ would take Pitt to the playoffs. You said Pittsburgh was a dark horse Super Bowl contender, which they weren't. So, no, you were dead wrong, and I was completely right. You said they were a dark horse Super Bowl contender, and they were no such thing. So, no. Amusing attempt to rewrite history, though. We already have our tight ends. Fant can be. Yeah, you'd cut Fant. You would cut Fant. I think that's fine. But it doesn't seem like we're going to do that. And I know Farrow's gone, but remember, we're keeping Brady Russell. He's your third tight end. AJ Barner's your second tight end. Fant's your number one. That doesn't really make much sense to me because I don't think that stuff is that much better than what we already have. That feels a little bit lateral to me. Like Tyler Warren makes sense to me because I think he's going to be a lot better than Fant, and he'd also be cheaper because he's a rookie. But getting a free agent tight end makes a little less sense to me. And also, Russell Wilson didn't lead the Steelers to the playoffs. He backed into the playoffs because Justin Fields gave him a head start. Them making the playoffs had shockingly little to do with Russell Wilson. J-Mez, thank you for the $1.99. Tyler Booker or Donovan Jackson at pick 18? Donovan Jackson at 18 is a reach. Yeah, like I like Tyler Conklin, but I don't view Tyler Conklin as being significantly better than Fant. And by the way, if you doubt that, then ask yourself why the Steelers don't seem all that enthusiastic about bringing Wilson back. Because they're not enthusiastic about bringing him back because he's bad and they know it. And there's a reason why only two really, really terrible teams seem interested in signing him at all. The Steelers quarterback right now is Hinkle McCringleberry. They don't really have one. Romy, thank you for the $2. Would you mind signing Andre James for center? I mean, I wouldn't hate it, but I have to wonder if he's good, then why did the let me look this up here. Yeah, he's currently he got released by the Raiders. If he's good, I have to ask, if he's good, why did the Raiders release him? I'm a little bit hesitant to go through other teams' refuse pile. and assume you're going to get good stuff. Like, it's okay if you want to take a flyer, but I don't think you should be trying to take a flyer for offensive linemen right now and Sam Darnold. Why did other teams release him to every free agent? Not necessarily. Sometimes there's actually a reasonable answer. And a lot of these players don't get released, they just don't get re-signed. Sometimes because the team can't afford them. Who's Hingle McCringleberry? How do football fans not know the Hingle McCringleberry reference? I thought everybody knew what Hingle McCringleberry was. Yeah, generally what I would say is don't worry so much about the cap space. I don't know what the cap space is, but whatever it is, it's enough to do stuff. And even if it's not, there's easy ways to create more cap space if you really want to. Yeah, that's true, Jason. But again, it's just I'm hesitant to assume that a team just dumped for basically nothing but cap space is still good. I'm not sure. But I am going to be a little bit suspicious of that. Oh, Mostert? Mostert to the Raiders? Let's see. Raheem Mostert. 1-year deal. Let's get it on the board, people. Cooper Kupp prefers to make a decision quickly on where he will sign, so hopefully this gets handled quickly. Why are there still good guards up when teams are in need? Felt like they would be gone by now. Well, there are a lot of moving parts here. There could be a bidding war. There could be health concerns. A lot of reasons. And one thing that I do want to say about the people who get angry about some of these signings, we don't have a football game next week. You know, I see all these comments of people like, oh no, how could we sign an edge rusher when we need offensive linemen more? The season doesn't start for 6 months, people. It doesn't matter what order we acquire players in as long as we acquire the players we need. So that argument I don't understand. Now, if we don't sign the players we need at any point or acquire the players we need at any point, that's different. Dylan Sosa, thank you for the 499. Do you think John is looking at the draft for left guard and wide receiver? Seems like it, although I would like to sign Jenkins since he's somewhat proven. That may be true, Dylan Sosa. I'm sure he is looking at the draft for some of these needs, but that's a bad way of doing business. That's a bad way of doing business. It forces you to reach for need, number one. And number two, you're also going to be heavily depending on rookies to make big contributions to your team, which is a vast majority of the time a mistake. Yes, okay, I just looked it up. The producers won 12 Tony Awards, which is the all-time record. And it won a Tony Award in every category it was nominated in. You know what else I find to be weird? Broadway productions do not try to get to a round number before they close. Like the Phantom of the Opera had 13,981 runs on Broadway or total performances, whatever. Why wouldn't you just do 19 more? Why wouldn't you just do 19 more performances to get to around 14,000 before you close? I'm looking at this list and it's like there were some opportunities to get to round numbers, but they do not care. I don't know, that bothers me. If I produced a really successful Broadway show, I would definitely want to try to get to a round number before I closed. What's the breakdown on D-Law? It's because 9.5 million is incentives. 9.5 million is in incentives. All right, next person to say beef in the chat, Brendan, is getting kicked because I assume you guys are like intentionally trying to annoy me because it is annoying. I know. I'm watching the chat. I'm pretty sure they know they did a great job, and who knows, they probably have leases and contracts. I guess, but like I'm sure the Phantom of the Opera could have worked out like, hey, can we do 19 more shows to get to 14,000? It is the most successful Broadway production of all time. I'm sure you could have negotiated that. Actually, most of the most successful Broadway shows of all time haven't closed yet. Like Chicago, The Lion King, Wicked, those are all still running. So they still could. Man, Cats was 15 short of 7,500. If they had just run 15 more times, they would have gotten to 7,500 on the dot. What's your favorite song? Oh, that's hard. It depends on the time, depends on my mood. Oh, I'm not an expert on the stage, Jason. I'm not an expert on the stage at all, but I am generally familiar with some elements of it. Like, I do think that musicals on stage are much better than musicals on film. Musicals on film tend to be very in your face, and I find it to be kind of obnoxious. But musicals on stage, it's so far away from you that it's kind of good that it tries to get in your face. So I don't mind it nearly as much. I haven't seen a stage musical in a very long time though, so at least I mean it on stage. Like when I was young, I actually saw a lot of them. I saw like the Beauty and the Beast musical. I saw 1776 when I was little. I saw a Peter Pan musical when I was little. Yeah, if you guys live in Washington State, you know the Fifth Avenue Theater. I used to go there all the time, actually. I don't know how many of you guys live in this general area, but I used to go to Avenue. Yeah, what's it called? Fifth Avenue Theater. I don't watch a lot of them mostly because my mom hates musicals. My mom can't stand them, so I end up not watching as many of them as I could. Thank you, big bro. I appreciate that. Have you seen the Spirited Away musical? No, definitely not. I remember I was going to watch The Greatest Showman and didn't know it was a musical. How did you not know that was a musical? That's like a jukebox musical, isn't it? I haven't seen Greatest Showman, but is well, not jukebox musical. I should take that back. But like the fact that that was a musical was very obvious, isn't it? Have you seen Wicked? No, I know what happens in Wicked. I don't know. Like to me, the appeal of The Wizard of Oz is that you have very firmly and well defined good versus evil, right? You have this very well defined, like almost evil versus good versus evil archetypes. I don't really like the idea of saying, "Hey, the Wicked Witch was actually sympathetic the whole time, and actually wasn't really that bad, and the Good Witch was actually a collaborator." I don't know. I don't think I don't know if subverting expectations are good in that. I don't know if I like that. I don't know if I like subverting expectations in that context. Like, just let the Wicked Witch of the West be an arc, just like a pure evil, like the Emperor, like the Emperor in Star Wars. They don't try to make the Emperor sympathetic. They just have him be evil because he likes being evil. All right, Mostert, 2.1 million. Defensive end Cam Sample resigns with the Bengals. I'll get that on the board here in just a second. It's like they did that with what was it? Oh, what was the Angelina Jolie where she was playing the witch in Snow in Sleeping Beauty? What was the name of that movie? Somebody's gonna know. Someone in chat's gonna know. Maleficent. Yeah, it's like I don't know. Just let evil people be evil sometimes, not every time. Like they tried to make Emperor Palpatine sympathetic in the Star Wars expanded universe, and I didn't like it. They did that in the expanded universe with the young what were they called? The Young and Voss storyline? The Youngen Voss. I can't remember how to pronounce it now, but somebody out there is going to know what I'm talking about. And it's like, why did the Emperor need to be made sympathetic? Just let him be evil because he likes to be evil. Stop trying to subvert my expectations. That's how you end up with Luke Skywalker drinking milk out of a dinosaur's tits. Because sympathetic characters are more interesting? Often. But I don't think you have to do it with every famous villain. I don't think you have to do it with every single. I don't think you have to do it with every single historical villain. Noah Brown back to the commodes. All right. Here we go. Not a bad deal for him. A lot of your favorite films subvert expectations? Oh, yeah. I'm sure, but sometimes I like it and sometimes I don't. Sometimes I think it's appropriate, sometimes I don't. Like how they made Scar in The Lion King. Are you talking about the Mufasa thing they did? Are you talking about the Mufasa thing they did where they made it? I didn't see Mufasa, but I read the plot synopsis. They made it so like Mufasa stole his girl or something. We talking about football? Yeah, as soon as something football related happens, what do you want me to do? Talk about you want me to make stuff up? That's about all I could do at the moment. Like I don't know how many of you guys are familiar with the Star Wars expanded universe, but when they did the young Han, the hold on, let me look up the pronunciation of this. The Yuzong Vong invasion storyline in the expanded universe. They basically tried to say the Emperor was actually just a well-intentioned extremist. They said, well, he did what he did to militarize the galaxy because he knew the Vong invasion was coming, so he was actually trying to save the galaxy rather than take it over because he's evil. And I don't know. I didn't like that. I thought that was a mistake. No, I didn't get a haircut. Actually, I haven't had a haircut in too long. My barber will not get back to me. I have tried to contact him multiple times. I've never seen Phantom of the Opera. I don't know very much about Phantom of the Opera. Um, I really like the memory song in Cats, but I don't really like Cats that much. I love the Elephant Love medley in Moulin Rouge. I think that's a fantastic song. So sometimes it's like I don't really like the musical, but I like the songs. Some of the songs are really good. Okay, so I'm looking at the list. I didn't know they did a musical of Arsenic and Old Lace. I thought that was just a movie. Huh, wild. I don't know. I think he is, but it hasn't gotten back to me now. I might need to like just stick my head in my bathtub and buzz cut me at this point because I need a haircut. Did you like Burlesque? I have not seen Burlesque. Oh yeah, the Spider-Man musical. Wasn't that like for some reason I thought the Spider-Man musical was a huge flop. It actually got more than 1,000 runs. What's your favorite anime? Evangelion. The worst is when you don't know it's a musical. I think it's pretty hard to see a musical and not know that it's a musical. Like the only time that really happened that I can think of is The Rocket Man. I saw Rocket Man, and my mom didn't know it was a musical, and then it was a musical. But I knew it was a musical. My mom just didn't know. To me, it was like, of course it's going to be a musical. What's your favorite Spider-Man movie? Oh, easily Spider-Man 2. Easily. I don't even think it's that close. That movie is crafted so well. Yeah, I liked Rocket Man too. I thought Rocket Man was good. Oh, I see what you're saying, Seth. Okay. There are lots of movies about music that aren't musicals, though. Like, I guess what was it? The biopic about Freddie Mercury, which I can't remember the name of because it wasn't very good. I guess that's not a musical, but there's a lot of music in it. Why don't you like Spider-Man 3? Because it was all plot and no story. Because it was way overstuffed. Bohemian Rhapsody, thank you. Andrew Garfield was a better Spider-Man than Tobey Maguire, but Tobey Maguire's movies were better. Spider-Man 2 is borderline masterpiece. Spider-Man 2 is legitimately close to a masterpiece. Yeah. You know, I've heard very fun stories about seeing midnight Rocky Horror Picture showings. My dad has actually told me. My dad said that is the only movie he's ever seen a midnight showing of, Rocky Horror Picture Show, because people who go to that are so, they get so into it that it's really fun. Did you ever see the movie yesterday? I didn't see it. I know everything that happens in it because my dad saw it and I talked about it with him. Yeah, Andrew Garfield was a great Peter Parker and a great Spider-Man. The movies just weren't that good. I thought the movies were okay, but they weren't good. But Spider-Man 2 is a borderline masterpiece. Like, that is a fantastic, well done film. Yeah, I've actually only seen three midnight showing movies in my life because there was a period of time where I had a supervisor at work where he liked to go see the midnight showings and I would go with him a couple of times. So I've only done a midnight showing three times. And I doubt I'll ever do it again. I'm older now. It's a little bit harder. Back then when I was younger, I could just go to a movie at midnight, get out of there at 2:30, drive home, get home at 3, and I was like totally fine. You a Harry Potter fan? I like it. It's good. I think that the seventh book is garbage. I thought the seventh book was a train wreck. So I thought it ended very poorly, but I like the series overall. I think the films did a really good job. I think Tom Holland does well, and I think his movies are pretty good. Did you play Hogwarts Legacy? Yes, I liked it. I wish it had committed to being either a BioWare style game or a Dark Souls style game, and it was kind of stuck in the middle of those two. No, Becton's not re signing with the Eagles. They traded for Kenyon Green, I think, to avoid doing that. Well, the thing is, I don't think Tobey Maguire did a bad job as Peter Parker, but the Peter Parker that he's playing is not really anything like the Peter Parker of the comics or the TV show. I think he's playing his own character, and I think he's doing it pretty well. but I think it's very clear that Andrew Garfield and Tom Holland are being much more faithful to that character. But that doesn't make it bad. I want to be clear about that. I know a lot of people that hated the Raimi Spider-Man because it wasn't faithful to the comics. I don't care about that at all. I don't think being faithful to the comics matters at all, really, as long as what you do is good. Yeah, I played Lego Star Wars. Fun game. Favorite Soulsborne game? Sekiro. Sekiro's my favorite. The skill gap in that game is crazy good. Yeah, I don't care about fan service at all. Like, I think Iron Man 2 is a I'm sorry, Iron Man 3 is a masterpiece, and comic nerds hate that movie. I think Iron Man 3 is an excellent film, and comic nerds hate that movie because it's unfaithful to the comics. I think that's a great example. I know so many people who hate that movie because of what they did with the Mandarin. I've seen the first couple episodes of Daredevil back in the day. I liked it, but I didn't continue with it. I don't see how Iron Man 3 could be considered a mess. That was a very that was actually a very tight screenplay overall, I think. Like when I think about a mess, I think about something like Spider-Man 3 where you've got 8 different subplots. The black suit, Eddie Brock, Gwen Stacy, you've got James Franco's amnesia, you've got like there's like 8 different subplots in that movie, and they're all just scattering all over the place. That to me is a mess. Iron Man 3 is not like that at all. Iron Man 2 was just okay. No, Iron Man 2 is not okay. Iron Man 2 is one of the worst movies of that decade. Iron Man 2 is genuinely one of the worst movies of the 2010s. That is an absolute train wreck of a movie, in my opinion. That is the movie that I think is like, there's nothing happening in that movie. Favorite movie genre? Probably crime or heist. I really like heist movies. They don't make enough of them. Iron Man 2, one of the worst of the decade? No, no. I probably saw about 200 movies that decade, probably closer to 250 at this point. And I think it's right down there. There's nothing happening in that movie. Everybody just sits on ass and does witty banter for 2 hours. That's all that movie is. I've watched almost all of the MCU actually. The MCU movies I haven't seen: Thor 4, Black Panther 2, The Marvels, and that might be it actually. Oh, easily Jenkins. Easily Jenkins. I like Jenkins more than Becton for sure. No, Alan, I didn't say that. The Dark Knight is amazing. The Dark Knight Rises isn't very good. The Dark Knight, I have nothing bad to say about The Dark Knight. The Dark Knight Rises wasn't that good. What is the most disappointing movie you can remember seeing? Honestly, it might be Man of Steel. I really had high expectations for Man of Steel, and it was not that different than like a Transformers movie. I really didn't like Man of Steel very much. Like, for the most part, when I see a movie that is bad, I kind of have an idea it's going to be bad. I already knew Rise of Skywalker was going to be bad. I already knew that Batman v Superman was going to be bad when I saw it because everybody said they were bad. So I wasn't surprised. I wasn't disappointed. I was just like, yeah, that was bad. That was really bad. But I didn't know Man of Steel was going to be like that when I saw it. I didn't. Favorite movie of all time? Goodfellas. See, the funny thing is, Jason, I actually like Zack Snyder. I think he's made some good movies. I don't have a problem with Zack Snyder. And by the way, Zack Snyder didn't even write Man of Steel. He just directed it. That movie was written by somebody else, and the writing is why that movie is bad. Yeah, Seven's a pretty good movie. I liked Seven. Um, See, I think Zack Snyder's Watchmen is great. I think 300 is good for what it is. Like 300 is not a good movie, but I think it does exactly what it's trying to do. Goodfellas over The Godfather. I like the way Goodfellas is edited. I read once that when Martin Scorsese made Goodfellas, he wanted the whole movie to feel like a trailer. He wanted the whole movie to be paced like a trailer, where it's just going, going, going. And the way in which that movie is shot is so engaging at every moment, even when nothing that important is happening. It's edited to so snappily for 3 hours. It just goes. I think that's really, really, um, I think that's really, really impressive. 300 is really good if you understand it's satirical. Well, yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like, I don't care if the movie's ridiculous, it's just trying to entertain you. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with a movie that's just trying to entertain you. It just has to be entertaining. I've seen Casino. Casino's great. Casino is one of my favorites as well. Nothing bad to say about that one. I've never seen Man on Fire. That's the Denzel movie, right? With Dakota Fanning. I certainly know about it, but I have not seen it. Ridley Scott has a very inconsistent filmography. I was looking at this recently. He has made some great movies, but he has made some duds. He is really capable of making stuff that is just garbo, but he can also make great stuff. He is so up and down. And sometimes he makes a movie that's so bad, it's hard for you to believe. How did this, like you're just like, how did this happen? Like Stanley Kubrick would never have made a movie like Alien Covenant, you know? I don't think that Scorsese could ever make a movie as bad as Alien Covenant. Seahawks OG, thank you for the $9.99 for new member GF, large and tackling Harden. That's actually a good idea. I might do that. I think that's something that everyone can appreciate. Favorite Kubrick movie? Let me think here. Give me a minute here, guys. I want to say Full Metal Jacket. I want to say Full Metal Jacket. Eyes Wide Shut is good. I've seen Shutter Island. I like it. The only thing is, the thing that I like about Scorsese is that all of his movies are based on true stories, and I find that that grounds things a little bit and makes it more engaging to me. Shutter Island is I don't know if it's the only movie he's made that's not grounded in telling a true story, but it's the main one that I know of, and I find that to be a little less interesting. I will admit, but it's still good. Like, there are a couple other Scorsese movies that aren't based on a true story. Like, I don't think Taxi. Wait. Let me think here. There are a couple others, but. Well, I think it says something about a movie if you can call it one of the most overrated movies of all time and still call it great. There is something to be said for that. You know, I never saw The Thin Red Line. Missed out on that one. You know, I actually read the book for 2001: A Space Odyssey too. Jameson, I seriously doubt that's the case. That would imply a front-loaded contract that you almost never see. I agree, GL. I think Scarface is overrated. I don't dislike it, but I do think Scarface is overrated. Reports say it is front-loaded. That would be very interesting. I don't know how to feel about that. I'd have to think about that. Have you had a chance to watch The Substance? No, but I know what it is. I know all about it. I just haven't watched it yet. I've seen some of it. It's interesting, but I'm not that interested in body horror. Mike McGee, thank you for the $5. I'm very discouraged by the offseason so far. I don't hate every move, but we aren't better now than we were at season's end. Reason to be optimistic. I actually agree with everything you just said, Mike McGee. I have to admit, I'm not super into this. I don't know if there is reason to be optimistic. The best I can say is that maybe John Benton is a genius and makes our offensive line play much better by virtue of his presence rather than getting better players. Wouldn't a front-loaded contract be good? I think so. I'm not against that. I'm open to that. I would, if it turns out that the Sam Darnold contract is front-loaded, I would have to reconfigure my thoughts at least a little bit. I would definitely have to reconsider that. I would at least come at it from a different angle. Thoughts on Christopher Nolan? He's great. I think Christopher Nolan's great. I think that he's made almost entirely good movies. Even the movies that weren't that good, I still enjoy them. Like, I don't think The Dark Knight Rises was that good, but I still like watching it. I don't think Tenet was that good, but I still like watching it. Yeah. Oh, Deshaun Hand. Another nose tackle for the Chargers? Well, he's not really a nose tackle. I guess I should step back on that a little bit here. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. No, 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 no. I did mean to do that. No, no, no. That's what I wanted to do. Okay. I actually didn't think Tenet was that hard to understand. It was just way more plot than story. I don't think Tenet had much of a story. It had a plot, and that's always going to be less interesting. Why Jenkins over Becton? Because he's a left guard, and I think he's a scheme fit. Becton's a right guard, and I don't know about the scheme fit. I actually was planning to watch a lot of movies during the last couple of weeks when I was house sitting for my parents. But then the dogs just kept me so busy, I had no time to watch anything. I just wish Christopher Nolan would get somebody different to write his dialogue. Nolan has this thing where the dialogue in his movies tends to be very on the nose, and sometimes it gets very stilted. I wish he would get. No, we just spent a lot of time in this stream talking about musicals, Mason. You just missed it. Doesn't his brother Jonathan write a decent amount of his projects? I think so. I know David Goyer wrote Batman Begins, which is the good movie that he wrote. Starting right guard for the Seahawks right now, it might be Lomia, but that's hard to know. There are a couple different guys it could be. Yeah, Dune 2 was great. I think Dune 2 was the best movie I saw last year. Not that I saw very many. I really didn't see that many last year. Titans signed Brandon Allen, backup quarterback. Let me get this on the board here. Reunites with Brian Callahan. Yeah, I thought Avatar 2 was good. I liked Avatar 2. I haven't seen Sicario. I have not seen either Sicario movie. I've missed on that one. Better players left on the board. I'm going to put that on screen right now. Oh, Mason, that's hard. That's a hard one. Probably the former. How the hell have you not seen Sicario? That's a good question. I've always said the determining factor on how good a crime or heist movie is how loud the bullet sound effects are. That's why Den of Thieves was actually pretty good. It was kind of a dumb movie, but the bullets were really loud, so that made it good. That is an underrated element of any movie, how loud the bullets are. If I ever made a movie, I would make the bullet sound effects really loud. And I think nobody would notice if the screenplay was bad. I feel 2/3 of Villeneuve's movies are a little too cold and I don't care what happens. Always pretty and sound great. You know, I haven't seen Blade Runner 2049 yet, so I actually that's maybe his well, okay, I don't want to say that, but that is one of his most interesting movies. So I haven't seen that yet. So I need to see that. I need to see how I feel about that one. Because that one's polarizing. So are we going all offense this year in this year's draft? I mean, that's a problem. Avatar was basically Dances with Wolves, except it was with blue people. Okay. Let me address this real quick. Let me address that because people say that a lot. People say that a lot. I don't think that's true at all. It is okay to do a movie that is 90% just to showcase special effects as long as the special effects are actually really good. I don't think there's anything wrong with just saying we're going to show you the greatest special effects we've ever seen as long as the special effects are good. And the special effects in Avatar and Avatar 2 are so good, I think that it justifies its existence. You can't say that about Dances with Wolves or Fern Gully or whatever else. So I don't agree with that, actually. I think that there is something to be said for being one of the best special effects movies of all time. It's just you have movies like the Star Wars prequels, which I think were 90% to show special effects, like Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, Revenge of the Sith. And those movies' special effects look horrible. They look like garbage. So if you're going to do something like that, you should at least make the movie actually look good. Not every movie has to be Shakespeare. But if you're going to make a movie as a special effects bonanza, then have the special effects look good. Are you hearing anything about Tevin Jenkins? Nothing new today. Nothing new today. Risner still a free agent to my knowledge. Are you streaming after the Hawk's Nest? And if so, what time? I probably am. If nothing's really happening, I might just call it, but we'll see. Like some of the special effects in Avatar 2 are so good looking, they actually almost freak me out when I'm in the theater. Not every movie has to be Shakespeare, but that doesn't mean special effects action movies shouldn't have good writing. See, I don't think Avatar is poorly written. I just think it's trite. I just think it's cliche. I just think that it's simple. I don't think it's poorly written. I just think it's a simple story and a trite story. But I don't hate seeing someone else's version of that. I never watched Draft Day. It doesn't look good to me. Cliche literally means badly written. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that at all. Moulin Rouge is one of the most cliched movies of all time, but it is still expertly written. Titanic is one of the most cliche movies ever, and that one is, at least in part, badly written. You can take something cliche and do something interesting with it. And that's what Moulin Rouge does, and that's what Titanic doesn't do. Man, this may as well be, we may as well be in like mid-May right now with how dead free agency is. Good lord. Hero71, thank you for the sub. Welcome to the channel. Apparently, Cup is going to make his decision soon, but we have no indication of where that decision might be. You know, well, when I call Moulin Rouge cliche, what I'm saying is that you have a plot that is like that's a tale as old as time, right? It's the beautiful girl having to choose between the rich ass clown and the nice broke guy. That's a story that's been around for forever. That's the story to like La Boheme, kind of. That's kind of the story to La Boheme. The Wedding Singer has that story. God, there was a movie in the 40s, Gold Diggers of something that had that story. That's the story of Titanic. That's like one of the oldest stories in the book. But you did something interesting with it. So I don't care that it's, cliche in the sense that it's been done many, many, many times before. You watch The Great Gatsby? Yes. Well, which version? There are a lot of Great Gatsbys. There are a lot of versions of Great Gatsby. Which one are you talking about? Have I ever walked out of a theater? Once. I have walked out of a theater in the middle of a movie once. Oh, the one by the. Oh, okay. Baz Luhrmann. Yeah, I've seen that one. What movie? It was the first Black Panther. Because somebody brought their baby into the theater and the baby, I'm not just saying crying, was screaming the whole time. So near the end of the movie, me and my dad just screamed at the dumb parent for a few minutes to make her feel to make her feel bad for being such a bad human being, and then we just left. And then we keyed her car on the way out of the theater. Subhuman. I hated Baz Luhrmann's The Great Gatsby. I didn't think it was great or anything, but I thought it was fine. Is Dallas Goddard getting signed? I thought Dallas Goddard was under contract. I didn't know Dallas Goddard was a free agent. I don't think he is. Yeah, Baz Luhrmann's Gatsby I thought was good. It was basically just a retelling of the Great Gatsby story. But I don't think there's anything wrong with that. He didn't do much with it, except he swapped out jazz with hip hop, which he had to do. If that movie had jazz in it instead of hip hop, it would not have really made any damn sense. Other than that, it's basically just the book, and that's fine. It's funny. The Great I never went to public school. I didn't go to public school at all, but I know a lot of people who did. Every single one of them say they had to read The Great Gatsby in school at some point, like that was required reading at some point in their high school or late grade school period. And almost everyone I know says they hated it. Everyone's like, man, it was just rich people acting weird. They didn't like it. And it's supposed to be this great American classic, but most people I know who had to read it for school said, no, I hated that book. I've never seen Red Dawn, either version. My favorite book was How to Kill a Mockingbird. What is How to Kill a Mockingbird? Is that literally like a self help book? I know To Kill a Mockingbird, but I've never heard of How to Kill a Mockingbird. It's a really. I'll tell you, I need a rewatch To Kill a Mockingbird because when I saw it, it didn't resonate with me, and I feel like it should have. I probably was not in the right mental state when I saw it, and I need to watch it again and really try to just feel it. I think we all have those movies where you're like, okay, I know this is supposed to be resonating really hard with me, but it's not. Like for me, To Kill a Mockingbird was that movie. I thought it was good, but it didn't really hit me that hard. Um, Good Will Hunting, I liked it, but it didn't really hit me as hard as it should. I feel like if I watched it again, it would. Just something didn't click with me at the time. Oh yeah, there was one movie I almost walked out of. It was Birds of Prey, the Harley Quinn movie. I thought that movie was really, really stupid. Mm. What kind of contract would you like to see for Jenkins? I'm not tripping too hard on the contract, honestly. Either you want him or you don't want him. Like, if the Seahawks don't spend their cap space, what are they going to do? Are they going to give the cap space to me? No. So it's like either you're going for it or you're not going for it. It seems like we're going for it, so go for it. That's how I feel. Okay, people in the chatter keep talking about The Giver, and for some, it made me think of The Giving Tree. You remember the kids book, The Giving Tree? So I got distracted for a second. I was like, why are people talking about a little kids book? How much cap can you roll over to next year? I think you can roll over as much as you want, but you know, football teams are not a hedge fund. The Giver is another book that's mandatory in a lot of schools. Yeah, I'm not familiar with that one. But The Great Gatsby is the book that everybody in school seems like they have to read, and it doesn't seem like anybody likes it. Um, God, what are some other required reading books? Like, I think Animal Farm, Fahrenheit 451. I feel like those books are required reading in school. I've not seen Mickey 17 yet. I may. Lord of the Flies, that's another good one. Yeah, Lord of the Flies. Catcher in the Rye, is that required reading, or did they ban it because it inspired the guy who killed John Lennon? What was the book where the guy. Yeah, what was the name of the book with the guy who had like mental issues, and at the end of the book, the other guy had to kill him because if he didn't kill him, the villagers were going to come and like torture him? What was that book? Um, of Mice and Men? Okay, thank you. Yeah, yeah, that one. That one, for sure. I forgot the name for a second. There you go. It inspired. I know that story inspired the season finale, the season 4 finale of Better Call Saul. Nothing new. Everything's sleepy. How did it influence Better Call Saul? No, it's that scene where Mike has. Okay, this is Better Call Saul spoilers, although the show's been out for several years now, so this shouldn't affect anybody. So I guess if you haven't seen Better Call Saul and you might want to, come back to the stream in like 1 minute. But no, it's the scene where Mike has to kill Werner, because if he doesn't, Gus's men are going to come and kill him much worse. So he does like a mercy kill, and it's also to prevent Werner's wife from getting killed as well. All right, that's all I'm going to say about that. I liked Better I liked Better Call Saul more than Breaking Bad. I actually liked Better Call Saul more than Breaking Bad. How long you staying in stream? Well, this stream's going to end in like less than half an hour because I have to stream with the Hawk's Nest for a little bit. I may come back after the stream though. We'll see. Really? Why do you think Better Call Saul is better than Breaking Bad? Better Call Saul, the way in which Better Call Saul handles morality is really, really fascinating. There's a reviewer that I watch who described the morality of Better Call Saul as being Aristotelian. And I think that is really, really interesting. The interplay between Jimmy and Chuck is better than anything I think they did in Breaking Bad. The interplay between Chuck and it's like you have Jimmy is extremely moral, but he's completely unethical. And Chuck is extremely ethical, but very immoral. Right? That's the thing that I think is fascinating. That interplay is so good. I think that's better than anything Breaking Bad did, and I think Breaking Bad was fantastic. I have not watched The Sopranos through yet. I need to. I really like Mad Men. I think Mad Men's great. Mad Men might be the best period piece I've ever seen. Mad Men, more than anything I have ever seen, gets that period piece stuff right. And it is such a beautiful looking series. No, I'm not that interested in Game of Thrones. By the time I thought about watching it, everybody was saying how terrible it is. Would you rather have Nick Nash or Jalen Royals? Probably Royals. Probably Royals. I'm gonna do more work into reading stuff about it. I could change my mind, but I think I'd go with Royals. It's the same reason why I never watched The Walking Dead. Everybody said the end of the show is terrible, so why even bother? It almost feels like if I know it's going to be a terrible ending, then why get into it? My dad tried to watch Game of Thrones, but he conked out in season 2. He lost interest very quickly. I may watch it one day, I don't know, but I have not watched it yet. I've heard House of the Dragon is good for people who like that kind of thing, yeah. Who's the linebacker dude? It's a backup. We had him last year. Did you watch Secession? Not yet. I'm going to. I'm going to. I've heard it's good, and I've heard it's good all the way through. Yeah, I saw the Raheem Mostert thing. I will pay you to watch The Walking Dead. Very funny. Do you watch any live action Japanese or Korean shows like Alice in Borderland? No, not really. I did watch Squid Game. I thought it was pretty good. I've heard good things about Cobra Kai. I've not seen it. I got to be honest. I've never even seen The Karate Kid. I've never seen any Karate Kid movie. That was something that was part of a era that I wasn't really part of. I feel like that was like an 80s thing, and I missed out on a lot of the 80s things because I was born at the tail end of the 80s. There's some 80s stuff I've seen, don't get me wrong, but I don't know, that was part of like a cultural phenomenon that I missed on. It's kind of like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, right? Like you really just had to be there for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or else you don't get it. And I wasn't there for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, so I don't really get it. Like imagine trying to explain Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles to somebody. Like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is really really stupid. It's about four teenage turtles who have mutated and do karate. Like that's really really stupid. It's hard to explain to somebody on the outside. You just had to be there. It's like it is kind of like Power Rangers, yeah. Yeah, Flag Sabbath. I've actually only seen a few foreign movies in my life, other than anime movies. Anime movies are foreign movies, right? But in terms of like live action foreign movies, I've seen Parasite, which was fantastic, and I've seen Pan's Labyrinth, which is great as well. Pan's Labyrinth is fascinating. But I have not seen very many foreign films overall. Oh, I saw what's it called? What's the name of like it's like Japanese, it's like it's basically like Die Hard. No, The Raid. The Raid. I've seen that one. That's good. I've seen some Godzilla movies that are foreign movies actually. That feels a little different though. Like Godzilla is such a simple concept for the most part that even doing it like foreign, it doesn't even really feel foreign. I've not seen Old Boy yet. No French movies? I don't think so. What are the odds we trade some picks to Dallas for Micah? That would be crazy expensive. I wouldn't bet on it. It's an interesting idea though. I've not seen The Brutalist yet. That's the Adrian Brody movie, right? Harrison Bryant signs. Okay, here we go. Oh, Sheldon Day signs with the Commodes. Harrison Bryant, 1 year, 2 million. Sheldon Day, Washington, 1 year, unknown money. Not players I really had on my list. Seattle Solus, thank you for the $2. Severance is the best thing on TV right now. I've heard it's good. I've heard it's very good. Have you seen The Boys? I've heard nothing but bad things about The Boys over the last few years, so I kind of lost interest in trying it, but maybe one day. I've heard some good things about it for sure, but it seems like it's lost its way according to most people. How do we feel about a Chris Olave trade? You got to be really cheap there, man. You got to be real cheap because he can't stay healthy at all. Now, I don't get I don't get Stranger Things. I think you had to be like an 80s kid to get Stranger Things. I think you have to have been around in the 80s to really grasp Stranger Things. My favorite show that's still running right now is Smiling Friends. That's the one show that I'm kind of locked in on. Smiling Friends is my favorite show that's currently running. Wake up. They hit the Pentagon, man. Lyle, they hit the Pentagon, man. White Lotus is the show with Alexandra Daddario, right? I do like Alexandra Daddario. You're supposed to talk about Seahawks stuff, Brendan. I'd love to. I'm still kind of sad that Curb Your Enthusiasm had to end. I love that show. It was time for it to end, don't get me wrong, but I'm sad that it had to end, you know? Never saw Dexter, no. Is this your full-time job? For the moment. It's complicated, Michael. I don't feel like getting into it at the moment. Because I'm actually going to get out of here in a few minutes. I have a stream with Brandon to do, so... Okay, let me... Hold on. I just remembered something. There we go. That is where I'm going to be at noon. So if you guys want to see me and Brandon talk about stuff, then go over there. JRD, thank you for the $1.99. Look at all those linemen that John will ignore. It is a little bit frustrating right now. The only hope that I've heard today is that Kubiak and Benton are going to fix our offensive line on the back of their great coaching ability, but that sounds like sucker bait to me. I'm not falling for it. Yeah, there's a join button if you scroll down. All right, guys, I'm getting out of here in like 4 or 5 minutes. I think I'll be back for more streaming later, but we'll see. If nothing's really going on and everything's super dead, I might just not, and then we'll stream again tomorrow and see if things hit a little bit harder. I think I've seen The Mist. That's the Stephen King thing, right? JRD, thank you for the $1.99. The cope I have is the defense does look good. It does. I think this defense could be even top 5 very reasonably. I think this defense is pretty loaded and ready to rock. It's just, what's it for? You know? The Browns probably had the best defense in the league 2 years ago, and they barely made the playoffs and got destroyed in their first playoff game because they didn't really have much of an offense. So I feel like there's always like an inverse correlation between how much Stephen King likes film adaptations of his books and how good the film adaptation is. Like, he didn't like Shawshank. He thought the film adaptation of Shawshank wasn't very good, and that's one of the best movies ever. Okay, there was a report that Russell Wilson signed with the Browns, but apparently it's fake. By the way, so if you see that, he hasn't signed yet. He still could, but he hasn't yet. Well, Hawk Blogger also was the guy who said there was no way DK Metcalf was going to get traded just like a week ago. So, you know, how my dogs doing? They're doing fine. Nothing wrong with them. All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and hop out of here, and I'll be back in 15 minutes on the other stream, and then I'll be back probably after that stream here.